Hello again, me and Stokey with Mastermind Games, back with more Relic Knights, High Priestess Zineda, and her Cypher Spite. So, 09023 Imperial Purple. Well, Zineda is a member of the Noh Empire, race inspired, and this is plucked up, a race kind of inspired by Japanese Oni, or demons. And they serve a demonic entity named Nozuki, who forged them into their current state, and is a nine-headed serpent-like entity. Or originally it was. It tore off one of its own heads. And this paint bottle's about shot. So first thing you'll notice is she's effectively naked. With just the ribbons covering her genitalia. And if this gets flagged for adult content, I don't care. I really do not. There's the brush I'm looking for. So she is mounted on a 40mm base. So for size comparison, humans and Relic Knights are mounted on 30mm. No females on 40, no males on 50. This might be a bit dark, but you know what? I'm going with it anyway. I in general like to try to stick to the official for skin tones and hair colors, hair and eye colors. You know what? This is gonna be close enough. Got a nice solid coating. There's nothing sculpted down there, so let's see here. This is the new resin sculpt that just came out about a month or so ago. Okay, making sure I'm not dropping hundreds of frames a second. And, in no society, all members fight in one way or another. For the males, it's straight combat. Females have two choices, either scouts or priestesses. And their society is incredibly brutal, but it is at least a meritocracy where the most qualified individuals hold positions of power. Even if those individuals usually, murder their way up the chain. Alright. It's a nice solid coat. And I nicked her claw, so I'll hold off on doing that for a bit. But switching brushes and going to Spite. Actually, let's see, where is it? Pearl White 09100. So it was an Esper. Spite is made out of, Cypher. Spite is made of pure Esper, or basically magical energy. And this is horribly clogged, and worse than the last one. So paperclip home. And Spite matches her mistress's temperament perfectly, and is just as cruel and malicious as Zineda is. Should go without saying, this is a solid villain faction, so go ahead and use that same brush, make sure it's nice and clean. And like Caesar in the last video, I'm going to try coloring her mostly with, I'm going to basically try to make her glow. There seems to be a tint of that purple on this brush still polluting the whites. And yeah, most of the ciphers are in a what's called a chibi style, or super deformed, ultra cute, even a malicious little monster like Spite. Alright, let's see, is that clock? I think it's dry enough. So, plate mail metal. I believe Zineda does have hands underneath those sleeves, at most. Again, all Noh carries some kind of weapon. She's got these claws. The Serpent Priestess I did a while back has a big knife. So I'll just pick these out real quick here. Okay, starting to drop a few frames. Just about done. The joys of technical difficulties strike again. I said this before, and I'll probably keep saying it. The more technology advances, the more and more it ends up like the climax of that movie Spaceballs, where the override to the enemy's self-destruct is out of order. Okay. Alright. Got the Spinner claws. Once that's dried, I'll move on to next. You know what? No, I need to hold off. Because her horns and her toenails are going to be the same color. Alright. Wasteland Soil. Going to be sitting on Spite for a bit since I'm doing her pretty much as just that's what I'm looking for. Lighting effects, or trying to. Switching to a more of a detailed brush. Getting this sort of mantle she's wearing. There's too much water in that. It's repelling it from the surface. Stopping at the shoulders here. I am stopping at the shoulders because the sleeves are going to be another color. And I think I missed part of her back, so I'll have to go back there and touch it up later. That's fine. On the original version of her, I used two colors that were very similar on the skin and this sort of mantle she's wearing. And it did not stand out much. This is actually a substitute for the original color I used, but the difference makes it stand out more from her flesh. And so a nice solid coverage here. Okay. Alright, I am going to switch to a larger brush for this part. Get the edge, the sleeves. Trying not to nick the blades coming off of her, coming out. But I do want to get inside this coil pattern here. It's going to be picked out later. Oh. The Noh Empire, as a faction, they're not a chaotic army of absolute monsters. They are a well-disciplined, highly organized army of absolute monsters. And that's probably my mother calling me back. So I'll pick this up in a minute. Okay, back to where I was. Some phone calls you can't ignore, and that's just fine. Okay. Wasteland soil. Filling in. And that is too thick right there. I'm going to try to blot some of that out. Just filling in the sleeves here. And again, the design on them I'll pick out in another color later, but I want to fill the underlying in, and seems I need to use almost just straight paint on this. Trying not to nick the blades as I fill in the sleeve, but one thing I will say about this model's physical construction. When I got her out of the package, she was on a sprue by her feet, and this ribbon is a separate piece, but I removed her from this feet from the sprue with a bone saw, and I would highly recommend that. If you try to use it clippers, she'll probably break. This resin that Soda Pop Minatures and Ninja Division are using for these, it's great for detail, but it's also really brittle. So please bear that in mind when assembling and cleaning. And that's all I want to do in this color. So I'm going to go ahead and take Yellow Bone 09143. Which is thoroughly clogged, so paper clip hoe. Wowzers. And maybe a bit much. And speaking of, there's still this kind of divot here. Let's try to clean that out a little more just for the sake of drying times. And I see another bare spot in that one. The Yellow Bone. Just going to get her toenails, which there's too much paint in this brush, which look a bit more like, okay, now I've got too much water in it. Look more like claws than fingernails, which is definitely appropriate. The Noh are monsters on multiple levels. And the horns. Actually quite a lot of variance on the horns. Some have one, some have two. And I'll just switch to the big one for this. This is large enough to warrant it. Not too concerned about the hair at this point. I'm going to be picking that out later anyway. Okay. And that's all I'm going to do right this second, so moving on a bit. Okay, next, Chaotic Red. What the? Some fuck is going off my camera here. I gotta Alright. Good grief. Now, chaotic red. That's another army painter color. I normally do an area this large with a bigger brush, but I need precise control here so as not to hit the hem of the sleeve there. At least I think I'm using that word correctly. Keeping my brush moist but not overly wet. Now this decoration is going to be picked out in bronze later. Same as the pattern on the sleeve itself. And, this, didn't catch that earlier, but that's some kind of ornamentation as well. I'll pick that out in the bronze too. Gotta be careful here where the sleeve touches the skin. Patience and practice and control. Try to get into all of these little nooks and crannies as the sleeve folds around the elbow. And the paint was repelled somehow. I guess I'll figure out exactly what's doing this and what I can do to stop it from happening. It must have something to do with the amount of water in it, but... And then these ribbons. Again, using just precise movements and control. Too much paint on the brush on that one. Okay, I wound up dropping a bunch of frames there. I don't know how. That weird glitch again. I realize I'm not very talkative right now, but I need to focus to do this right the first time. And just like with Captain Harker in the last video, I will be comparing the original sculpt of this character to this new one once I finish. So when gluing the ribbons around the feet, this was just one separate part, but it only glued on one exact way, and it wasn't completely obvious either. I had to just test fit multiple times. Gonna loosen up a little bit here, but not too much. I think I have too much water in the paint right there. That might be what's doing that. Which is a little odd because it never did that on the Reaper Master Series brand, just this Army Painter one, so that's something to think on. I'm trying to get all the visible surfaces on the ribbon without hitting the feet or any other parts of the skin. Just about done. Okay, there we go. No. The tassels. This I could loosen up, although. This is another thing where it's ambiguous where they went just from looking at the parts. But based on the way the tassels were constructed, it looked like they might have gone either on the end of her hair ornament or somewhere on the ribbons, but actually a couple of slots in the sleeves of the robes of the robe that they glue into. Okay. Still need to be careful not to hit the flesh. down dull this color. Okay, leather white 09062. Going over the hair. Well, nicked a bit of a cheek, but that should be alright. It'll come out when I shade. Being real careful around the horns. I don't want to nick those. Just make sure I get a nice solid coat on the top before I move down the braid. Being careful and deliberate here. This leather white is kind of an off-white. Go ahead and get this surface first. I'm not too concerned about the colors I'm nicking on this because they'll get polished up when I do the shading. But I think I said that twice. I'm feeling very dazed today. Still getting over from that bug. Okay. And then red brick 09001. This will also be tricky, but I'm going to be doing excuse me, doing the base here. Trying as carefully as I can to go around the ribbon and toes. So I'm just dabbing it in a lot of places. And this is again a custom sculpting thing I do. Just do broken ground for the Noh Empire, but can't really see too well here because of how much of the space these ribbons are taking up, but that's alright. The miniature should always be the focus, not the base. I feel that way strongly, even with scenic bases, that the character on them should be the focus, not what he, she, and or it is standing on. It seems a little thin in places, but okay. That's halfway decent, so that's just going to leave a little bit of bronze once some of this other stuff dries. So I'm almost done with the base coats here. Okay, last base coat, Old Bond 09197. These lines on my camera may have to do with the lighting, actually. I'm still trying to figure it out. And I'll get something figured out. This one's going on ornamentation. Starting, well, that is way too thick. Starting with this bit here. The design on her robe did change a fair bit between the original sculpt and this one. And this is really the only way to do this pattern properly. To try to go over it more crudely would end up hitting the interior, which I don't want. I may touch up that blob of light on the robe before I shade, after all. I want to get this pattern on both sleeves before I move on to the elements that are going to stick out more. Boy, it's a little tricky right there under the tassel. Readjust my grip a little. Refreshing paint as needed. Keeping the brush moist but not overly wet. Excuse me. I'm still very much getting over that. Yeah, like I said, I'm still getting over that bug. I think I feel worse today than I did yesterday. So, I can at least do this, even if I can't do many other things I would normally like to do today. Okay, so there's supposed to be chain links now. If you were ambitious, you could drill through to make this hollow, but that would likely compromise the structural integrity and make them snap off, so just bear that in mind. Okay, I think that's everything on the robe. Whoa, I almost dropped her again. So one more bit of ornamentation on the hair here. And in the first version, this was a large bell. So obviously this has been changed. Alright. I think I want to do a little touch up, but that's it for base coats. Alright, time to shade. 1 part paint to 1 part water, starting with aged pewter 09196. Thinning this out into a wash with 1 part water to 1 part paint. Just going over the base coats. Wanting to get this in the recessed areas. Make them darker. And subsequently, well, so this will make the recessed areas darker. When I combine it with the highlighting, it'll make them pop out more. Replenishing paint as needed. I hope I made sure I was in camera here. Okay. It's the bronze. Blackened steel 09205. And I think I can get our horns too, so stained ivory 09142. Need a little more than that. Actually start with her toes. Now I'll get those big beautiful antlers. Trying to get a nice solid coat over my base coat here. Alright, that's enough for now on Zineda. Now I gotta start on a spite. And Ghoul skin 09148. Going to use 2 to 3 parts water per 1 part paint to thin this into a wash suitable for a lighting effect. The trick is to have some of the white showing through. A little more on the face. I can blot that up. You know, yeah, that idea's not going to work, so I'm just going to have to call it good at that for now. Am I recording? Okay. Next. One in white, 09061. Okay, making sure I'm not dropping hundreds of frames a second. It's dawned on me I forgot to get Spite's base earlier, so I'll have to take care of that. Being really careful around the horns and the ornament on her head. You'll notice I'm using my offhand to brace my main hand. Being real careful now not to hit the skin as I get the side of the braid that faces it. Okay, lost track of what I've done for a second there. I'm gonna let that dry before I move on. So, red brick 09001. Oh, and I dropped a whole bunch of frames there. I need to catch it. Well, that bites. Alright, fine. Carefully get Spite's base. This won't take as long to dry as the lighting effects I'm doing on her. And with that in mind, Dark Elf Skin 09164. And Leather White 09062. But you know what? I'll make the teeth match the claws. And hair. And pale green 09012. I think I'm thinking of this correctly. Getting the scales on the front. It's a little thick right there. Okay. absorb a little right here. And we'll see if that works out. Let's see here. Yeah. Alright. Next, leaf green 09011. Being careful around the hips. I don't want to nick any of the other colors. Looks like I missed a piece on the dark elf skin earlier. I'll have to touch that up real quick. Don't want to hit the front scales either. Alright, that's got that. Dark elf skin again, 09164. And I want to nick these protrusions on the back here without hitting the... Well, you know what, that'll work. A little more here. A little more on the sides there. And Grimoire purple. A little rainstorm coming down outside. It's been a bit sporadic, but one thing about these army painter colors is, as I said before, they're not numbered, so I have to eyeball it a little more. I'm trying to get just the mantle and collar, not the sleeves. Okay. Now the trim on the sleeves, including going inside. This is going to be one of the more meticulous bits of shading here. I kind of loosen up for the interior of the sleeve, just a little bit. Now for the right. Am I dropping frames again? Cool here? Okay. The joys of technical difficulties strike again. I don't know how many more times I can make that same joke about that movie Spaceballs, though. But when we're talking about increasing reliance on technology that is ever flukier because product testing is apparently an obscenity in the current business language. There's no way but to go but right to Spaceballs. Alright. That just leaves the red, the flesh, and the base. Zineda, and just the base on Spite. Plus eyes. So getting there. Good grief, most of that dropped. Well, let's see if I can get through this clip without dropping 500 frames. Red brick 09001. Well, and I've already dropped a bunch. Now stop, it's gonna play nice. Alright. Alright, we'll have 9. Cool here. Maybe. Just being cantankerous. But this is going along the red, so starting with the sleeves, letting it flow around. At this point, I am just gonna roll with it because this is getting very frustrating when I'm trying to do this and my computer does not want to play nice. Okay, well, it looks like the frame drop stopped at 225, but that's still bizarre and frustrating. Okay. Alright. Here's the sleeves. I'll get the tassels last. I'll do the ribbons next. Being careful not to hit the skin if I can avoid it. Okay. That's flat out the trickiest part, I think. And it's all done. Alright. Once that dries, I can do the skin. And after the skin's dry, I can get the base and then hit the eyes and go from there. Nope. myself I forgot the tassels. Oh, it has been a long week already. And I just nicked the metal. Yeah, that should be alright. Anyway, looks like I lucked out okay. Here we go. Now I'm done with that one. Alright. Second to last shading, Nightshade Purple 09022. Which is horribly clogged. Oh boy, that's going to take a minute. Finally, there we go. Okay, that's a bit excessive right there, so I'm going to try to absorb that. Whoop. There we go. Got it. And just going over the skin here. Carefully getting into that cutout on the back of the mantle. So on skin tones from Noh, do whatever you want to do. Officially, females look to have violet skin, at least so far, while males seem to have bright red skin. But again, just do what you want to do. Being especially careful as I get to the ribbon and the toes, because I've already shaded the toenails. Just dabbing it on there at the feet. Also trying to make certain I get solid coverage here. So I am taking this a bit more slowly than usual. Okay, that's got it. So once that dries, I can get the base and the eyes, and then it's highlighting from there. Alright, just add a bit matte white. So I'm painting Zineda's eyes with a lighting effect, so carefully filling that in first. But will actually have colored irises, but I still need to fill in the whites first. And that's going to have to dry. In the meantime, I can do Ruddy Leather 09109. A little more. Get both bases. Letting that pool in the craters. Carefully right there. Yeah, there we go. That'll do. And apply the same to Zineda, being careful around the toes and the ribbons. These are resting on top of the ground and are not part of it. So dabbing in those areas, those enclosed areas from above. Okay. Alright, next. Lemon Yellow 09009. Doing Zineda's eyes as a lighting effect. Keeping one eye on my computer, attempting to. And my nose seem to have these glowing eyes with no iris or pupil, just one glowing color. So that's good. Spite, on the other hand, Marigold Yellow 09007 does have a whole deal of sclera, iris, and pupil. It will be fairly easy to get all three of that on this one here. So get the yellow out of my brush first. This is being done essentially as a base coat. Sorry about the sniffing. I'm still getting over that bug. Still trying to get back to full strength. Okay, there we go. Need to let that dry completely, and then I can give her the pupils and start on the highlighting and wrap up. Alright, highlighting and detailing. Matte black. Just need a tiny dot. I'm just going to give Spite a couple of vertical pupils here. Just like that. Now, while that dries, I can start dry brushing. Amethyst purple 09024. Whoa. Brush is out of the way here. Taking a ragged feathered brush, no water, just straight paint. Rubbing most of it out on a paper towel till there's just nothing left. Then lightly dusting the area to be affected. Going against any rough edges or contours to make them pop all the more. Focusing on the most readily visible surfaces. Not concerned about getting every single thing. That had too much paint in it. Okay. Ghost White 09063. No, not yet. Can go back to Spite first. Moldy Skin 09149. Or no, Bloodless Skin 09150. Now, Ghost White 09063. Just needed to get Spite's skin first. Use an appropriately sized brush. Hearing bad sounds out of my computer, and it's dropping frames again. Good grief. Joys of technical difficulties strike again. So, those of you who happen to know the theme of the Mel Brooks movie Spaceballs, now's probably a good time to sing the theme song for it. I've lost track between problems with the equipment at the day job and my system here. I've lost track how many times I've told that joke. I really have. Okay. Alright. Alright. One huge pain in later. Orc blood. Not too much of this. In fact, hardly any at all, because the only place this is going is the mantle, and actually just going on the most readily visible portion on the shoulder, because I'm going to leave the insides of the robes purposely dark. So pretty much just that. Blood red, 09003. Maybe too much. Substantially more of this, but I also have to be a little more careful. Keeping an eye on my computer, which is still misbehaving. And I'm just going to, at this point, groan, say whatever, and just keep working. It's a very erratic glitch. It seems to be just barely consistent enough to frustrate me immensely. So while trying to avoid hitting the skin, I am trying to at least get the outward edges of these ribbons so that they pop. And I'm doing the same with the sleeve, trying to avoid the bronze. Glad to get the tassel on that side now. Again, putting the attention on the most readily visible area. Creamy Ivory, 09144. Looks like my frame rate got stabilized, for crying out loud. It really does frustrate me to no end that I am trying to make these as to the best of my ability, and despite efforts, still keep finding things to drive me crazy and interfere with that goal of making the best videos possible. And I am well aware of how much I still have to learn, at least on the video aspect. I've been painting models for over 20 years, so a lot of attention to the horns because I really want these to pop. Okay. Tarnished brass, 09198. I just need to find an appropriate brush to do this with. Buttons, a little ornament here. Shoulder. And I'm refreshing my paint directly from the paper towel. Right there. It's only good for a little bit though, so just bear that in mind. Give me a nice shine to it. True Silver, 09207. Not as much tension on the left set of talons as the right. Alright, that gets Zineda right now. So I'll have to do her base. I need to wrap up Spite first. And on that regard, Dark Elf Highlight 09165. And one of the smallest brushes I've got. Making sure I haven't lost too much more in the way of frames. Getting claws, teeth, and the scaly regions on her breasts and back. And pale green 09012. Find the appropriate brush again. These two have so many colors, I've used almost every single brush I have. So I'm getting the bulk of the tail, the sides and back, but not the front right this second, not with this. Now, Sun Yellow 09008. Yeah. Just a bit of that. And another smallish brush. Let's see if there's something in here somewhere. Let's see, some of this dry maybe. Yeah, that one's okay. get the front with this. Just put a little yellow on the underbelly scales there. And there we go. Now, that's got spite. So now, red brick 0900, or no, wrong one. Chaotic red. Grab the wrong red. Now, dry brushing the base, I can pre-loose on spite here. Zineda, I gotta be a little more cautious on, so she's just gonna get minimal highlighting on her basing here. Okay, that'll do. Need to do a little more of that blood red right at the tip here. But just notice that bit alright. It's going to do that to me. I'll just take a little of the straight blood red and just carefully dab it on there. Well, it's going to have to do. Right. Alright, that'll be alright. Now, ruby red 09101. Switch to a flathead brush. Now this one was getting pretty wiped out, so I tried to refresh it with some mixing medium. We'll see how well it goes. That's really clogged up first, so I'm taking a paper clip to clear it, like I do. Alright. Gonna add a little more mixing medium directly to the bottle. I'll just get over here. Alright. Oh, this is frustrating. Alright, so okay, just a little more mixing medium. Put this bit back in. And just shake the living tar out of this. Alright. Alright. Paper clip down the chute again. Oh, that is much better. That went well. Okay. Alright, frustrations aside. Flathead. Getting out the ruby red, the metallic red here. Carefully lining the base. Being very careful where the model touches or goes past it. I hear my computer making bad noises, and it's dropping frames again, or trying to. Well, groan. Just groan. A bit of water there. Maybe too much water since it's repelling it. I don't care how long this is taking. I am going to take my dang time with it. Get it done. Alright, there's Zineda. Now for spite. angles I can do on this are not the best. Because I'm looking down, you're looking at straight on, I'm looking down from slightly above. That definitely affects what you're going to see. Done. Okay, and I dropped her. Oh boy. Okay, so touch that up, and all I need to do is let it dry and seal it with a varnish. I generally use a matte. It's going to take some of the shine off, but there's others. Use what you like. So, Spiked and High Priestess Zineda. So, new Spiked, and here's the original. You see her head got a lot bigger and more of a creeping or deliberately menacing pose. And then old Zineda and new Zineda. So aside from getting taller and having both feet touch the ground, you see the bell's been replaced with a more subtle ornament. Her horns go, dang it, her horns go more towards the back of her head. Her hair's a little more of a bob cut outside of the braid, but much more dynamic pose overall. And that's it. That's going to be the last Relic Knight video until I get the new Delphine and Ekis, which will likely be sooner rather than later. But until next time, I am Ian Stuckey with Mastermind Games, signing out.